Wow. 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 So little words. So much happened. Where do I even begin? I guess the beginning. Goku, in a gigantic struggle with Zamasu, overpowers him and shows that Zamasu isn't exactly immortal. It is explained that even though Zamasu himself, the future Zamasu, is immortal, Black was not. And since Black is half of Zamasu, this all-powerful Zamasu, that would mean that half of his body isn't immortal, which I guess in the end makes him not immortal? There was talk about how Zamasu's soul and body are becoming unbalanced, making him vulnerable, making him perhaps susceptible to death. That means that this new Zamasu is semi-immortal, but not really. That if something dramatic happens, or a deus ex machina, he could be killed. Which is what I got from it. That explanation aside, of course, since Vegeta and Goku seem to be completely exhausted, they get the Zensu beans and of course the idea of Patara fusion. Now we saw this in the preview and we knew it was coming. However, one thing that we did not see coming were contradictions. Some people will be tempted to call this a retcon. However, I feel that this isn't a retcon, this is a contradiction, because Gowasu explains that fusions between non-supreme Kais are permanent, but fusions among any other kinds are only last 1 hour. Now, that I have huge problems with, that I could go on for a long time. I'm just gonna name them really quick right here. Just really quick, because I have a serious problem with this. Number one, this contradicts what the Elder Kai said. The problem I have with this is that the Elder Kai is supposed to be an extremely knowledgeable character, which means if what Gowasu says is right, that means the Elder Kai is wrong. And what makes Gowasu more knowledgeable about this than the Elder Kai, who is himself a fusion? A permanent fusion. In fact, the Elder Kai is a fusion among a Supreme Kai and a witch. Now, unless they're prepared to tell me that that witch was a Supreme Kai, which clearly was not a Supreme Kai, that would mean, why is that Elder Kai's fusion permanent? That goes once again to the Kibito Kai fusion. Kibito was not a Supreme Kai. He was a Shinjin, I'll give him that. He was the race of a Shinjin. But Gowasu does not say fusions among Shinjins are permanent. He said fusions among Supreme Kais are permanent. I'll tell you the real reason why this was pulled out of Toriyama's ass, which I think it was. I'm gonna go in on Toriyama on this. I'll tell you why it was. The reason it was pulled out of Toriyama's ass is because Vegito would have beaten Zamasu, and clearly Vegito was not meant to be written as the winner, so they needed somehow for Vegito not to defeat Zamasu, and the way they found out was to completely contradict themselves and changing the rules of the Patara earrings, contradicting what has happened in the past, so that way future Trunks can take the victory. Now, of course, I don't have a problem with future Trunks taking the victory. On second thought, I have a few things to say on that too. But in theory, I don't have a problem with future Trunks taking the victory. But it's so blatant that the reason this bullshit line was said was so that we could have a reason for Vegito to step aside and for future Trunks to come in. That was the reason it was written this way. It just makes it terrible writing. I hate it when they contradict themselves in this way. Toriyama is no stranger to this, and he does it again with this. Vegito steps up to the plate, and honestly, this was very entertaining and very refreshing to see after that hideous line that was just vomited by Gowasu. The fight was actually very entertaining, and the animation, I must say, is top-notch, which I have to say was appropriate since this is gonna be like the final battle, it seems. One particular moment I thoroughly enjoyed is when Zamasu goes into one of his grandiose speeches about being immortal, and Vegito just smacks him right in the face, interrupting his speech midway, which was a great way to finally stick it to Zamasu's pretentious face. One thing I really do like about this confrontation is not only the action, but also it explains about Zamasu himself and his motivations. As I said before, Zamasu is sort of a contradiction, since he hates mortals, yet he needs them to succeed in his own, way. And you know what? I kind of like that Zamasu really goes out and explains himself, even though there's terrible writing in other specs. In the case of Zamasu and his character, I think his character was written really well, because he sees it no contradiction. He sees the gods themselves as failures themselves, and he's trying to rectify it. And the only way to rectify it is by using the sins of the mortals and the gods together to create his new world. I like the fact that they confronted this and they didn't ignore it, because I think it would have been a great loss to this whole story, and especially Zamasu's character, if they didn't confront this issue. So during the fight, Vegito of course is about to finish Zamasu off. However, as with any fusion with time limits, the fusion is prematurely ended. And of course, the explanation that's given is that Vegito used up too much power, and that's why it was prematurely ended. I don't feel too bad about that, because if you swallow the complete bullshit pill of the Patara fusion now has time limits, blech, if you were able to swallow that, I mean, what more can you swallow? I mean, you've already taken, I mean, that's much of a bigger deal anyway, so whatever. Okay, so he's defused now. That gives an opportunity for future Trunks to pull off his Deus Ex Machina Super Saiyan, but with a sword this time. With Trunks now going up to Zamasu, he pulls off some sort of spirit bombish, everyone give his energy, the planets helps him out in order for him to get this energy to defeat Zamasu. Deus Ex Machina, essentially. Yeah, he uses this Deus Ex Machina to, of course, defeat Zamasu, Immortality is really nothing on a Deus Ex Machina. Now, alright, now, I'm clearly a little cynical about this ending. Is it warranted? Is this whole thing warranted? Well, I've always had my reservations on Trunks' transformation, which, of course, I can go into in detail. But they took it to another level here. They really did. I mean, how else can you say this? This is a Deus Ex Machina. Trunks somehow pulls off some spirit bombish move. The last, 12 people on Earth give him enough energy to defeat Zamasu. The power of friendship. It made me kind of cringe, honestly. I felt like I was watching Yu-Gi-Oh! Or something. Or some shit. I'm not even joking. Look, I have no problem giving future Trunks the win, but this way, I feel a little mixed about it, honestly. I really do feel a little mixed. I don't know. Maybe I need some time for it to settle in and for me to think about it even more, but this just reeks of Deus Ex Machina. I don't know what else to tell you, man. Was it cool at least? Was it aesthetically pleasing? I think it was at least aesthetically pleasing seeing Trunks pull off this energy blade thing and slicing Zamasu in half, seeing that righteous fury. I thought at least it looked cool for what it all, even though it kind of didn't make sense. Oh well. And it does seem that this actually is going to put an end to this whole arc. Who knows? Most likely. Maybe there are things that are after this. But it seems that for the most part the major conflict is done for. And what do I have to say? Well, I'm definitely going to review this arc, but as for this episode, I have mixed feelings, man. Obviously, it was a well-animated episode. The action was absolutely superb. I think that the characterization of Zamasu was great. They didn't run away from some of the questions that we've been having throughout this whole arc, and they fully explain his motivations and his vision. I thoroughly enjoyed that. On the other hand, it has poor writing. They go to lengths of breaking previously established rules so that they can write off a character, Vegito, so they can have another character come in and win by Deus Ex Machina. It's a mixed bag, to say the least. I don't know what to think. This one, I'm gonna have to say it's a so-so episode. It has great things in it, and it has honestly terrible things. It's really a mixed bag, honestly. Great things, horrible things on the other hand. I don't think it was the best way to end this I don't know. I'm not even so sure in saying that, honestly. Maybe I'll be more thorough in my review when I get to rewatch this entire arc. Maybe my mind will change, but that has been my review of this episode. And of course, guys, if you like this review and if you like my thoughts, please subscribe to this channel because I'll be bringing you more videos like this one as soon as they come out. But until next time, guys, I'm Blackenfist.